Part 1. The number. You are 25. You are leaning against a gold supercar in a city that costs more per square foot than your entire childhood neighborhood. Your net worth cleared $10 million. You are wearing a suit that fits correctly, not pretty good for the price correctly, actually correctly, the way clothes fit when someone measures you and means it. The skyline behind you is all glass and money made vertical. Palm trees, blue water, the specific architecture of a place built entirely to signal that someone, somewhere figured it out. This is you, right now. And someone's going to ask you, sometime in the next few hours, how it feels. To have everything at 25. To be standing here. And you're going to smile and say something that is true, but incomplete. Because what it actually feels like is not the car. It is not the suit. Not the skyline. Not the number. Your net worth cleared $10 million on a Thursday. Not gradually. One wire, one morning, one number on a screen that replaced a different number. You're standing in your kitchen. The kitchen cost $18,000 just in countertops. You chose it 6 months ago from a catalog, circling things the way you used to circle sneakers in a magazine when you were 11 and the sneakers weren't coming. The coffee is the good kind. The $34 bag from a roaster in Portland that a girl you dated briefly said was the best she'd ever had. You buy it every 2 weeks now without checking the price. That part still feels slightly unreal. Not the $34. The not checking. You have everything. That's not a boast. That's the premise. The apartment, the car, the account, the freedom, the respect. The things you said you wanted when you were 17 and your family's checking account had $340 in it and payday was still 4 days away. You have all of it. And you're standing in your kitchen at 8:47 in the morning with no meeting until 11. And the coffee is perfect and something is slightly wrong. And you've been trying to locate the wrong thing for 6 months. Part 2. The before. You did not grow up poor enough for it to be a clean story. Nobody was going hungry. Nobody's lights got shut off, not more than once anyway, and your parents handled it so fast you almost thought you imagined it. But you knew. You knew the way kids know things they were never told. You knew from the way your father paused at the gas pump before deciding between full and half. You knew from a specific sound your mother made when she opened a bill, not a gasp, not a sigh, just a brief silence that meant she was recalculating something in real time. You knew from the birthday dinners that were always at home, never at the restaurant, and the explanation that home cooking was better anyway, which might have been true, but was also the only option, and everyone at the table understood that, and nobody said it. You were not unhappy. That matters. This is not a story about misery producing ambition. It's more specific than that. You were the kid who felt the ceiling. Not dramatically, not with rage, just awareness. The awareness that the people making the decisions that shaped your family's life had names you didn't know and would never meet. The landlord, the HR manager, the loan officer who mailed a letter your mother read standing at the mailbox and then folded and put in her pocket before walking back inside. By 17, you had made a private decision. It wasn't dramatic enough to call a vow. It was permanent enough to shape every choice that followed. You were going to be on the other side of those decisions, whatever that required. Part 3, the execution. You don't need the full story here. Every version of it looks the same from outside. The early starts, the obsessive focus, the rooms you had no right to be in yet that you entered anyway, because waiting for permission was its own kind of poverty. What matters is the internal texture of the years before it worked. You are 21, running on $800 a month and a certainty you can't fully justify. You have one pair of dress, shoes you rotate with 2 casual pairs, and you've learned exactly how to present yourself so that nobody in a business meeting clocks the rotation. You have a Google Sheet with 47 potential clients. It has a column called Last Contacted and a column called Response and a column called Next Move. Most of the response cells are blank. You pitch 11 people before someone says yes. The check is $85,000. Your hands are steady when you shake his hand. They are shaking when you reach your car. You do not celebrate. You calculate how many months $85,000 buys, and the number is not enough to feel safe, so you go back to the sheet. You are 23. The thing is working. Not dramatically, the way real things work. Slowly, then stubbornly, then with momentum that starts to feel like it belongs to the business rather than to you. You hire 3 people, then 7. You stop sleeping, well, not from stress, but because you wake at 4 a.m. with thoughts that feel urgent and aren't. And by the time you figure out they aren't, you're up and working anyway. The acquisition conversation starts at 24. You have been through enough by now to know what it means when a company asks technical questions about your infrastructure and none about your roadmap. They want what you built. They might want you attached to it. The might is doing a lot of work in that sentence. The deal closes closes 11 days before your 25th birthday. The wire clears on a Thursday morning while you are in a coffee shop in Austin responding to emails that no longer matter. You look at the notification, then you respond to an email. Part 4. The morning it doesn't feel like anything. You expected something, not fireworks. You're not naive, but something proportionate, a feeling large enough to match the years that built it. The exhale of a person who has been holding their breath since a kitchen table at 17 and payday 4 days away. Instead, there is a low, flat sensation, like a sound that stops, not silence. The absence of a particular tension you've been living inside so long you didn't know it was tension until it left. You call your best friend. He's at work, the kind with a desk and a manager and a lunch break. And he answers hushed, and you tell him, and he says, "Wait, seriously?" And then, "Dude," and then we have to celebrate, and you say yes, and mean it, and hang up, and sit back down, and the flat sensation is still there. It does not pass. You buy your parents a house. Your father walks every room twice. He touches the doorframe of the master bedroom and doesn't say anything for almost a full minute. Your mother sits at the kitchen table, the new kitchen table in the house she doesn't have to worry about, and cries the kind of cry that has been waiting a long time to arrive. This is the only moment in the first year that feels proportionate to what happened. Everything else is administration. Legal documents. A financial advisor who uses the word stewardship 3 times in the first meeting. An accountant explaining the tax architecture of your acquisition in language that was technically English. A security consultation you didn't know you needed until someone explained why you needed it, which was its own specific kind of unsettling. Nobody prepares you for how much paperwork there is on the other side of the dream. Part 5. The room changes. Here is something nobody tells you. When you have nothing, you know exactly why people are in the room. Your early friends were your early friends because you were the same age and broke and interested in the same things. Your first employees were there because they believe in what you were building and needed salary. The interactions were legible. You could read them. Now the room is different. Not corrupt, not fake, just layered. There's a slight additional warmth when you enter, a slight additional attentiveness when you speak, a weight given to your opinions in group settings that your opinions didn't have 2 years ago. You would have to be deliberately oblivious not to notice it. You are not oblivious. Your cousin texts you for the first time in 3 years. He's starting a business. He has a deck. He needs 15 minutes. A girl from your high school, someone who passed you in 4 years of hallways without a single glance. Send a message on Instagram. She saw your press mention. Thinks what you're doing is so inspiring. She's in Austin too, actually. An acquaintance from college, someone you knew briefly and not especially well, invites you to a dinner. You go. The other guests are all accomplished. The conversation is smooth and intelligent and curated, and nobody says anything genuinely real for 4 hours, and you leave with 6 new contacts and a specific tiredness you don't have a name for yet. You start making a private distinction. People who were there before the number and people who arrived after it. You hate that you make the distinction. You make it anyway, because it's the only way to navigate a room where you can no longer read why people are in it. The people from before feel like anchors. You hold them tighter. The people from after are not bad people. They're just people who know the number before they know you. Part 6. The quiet. You have freedom now. Real freedom. Tuesday at 11 a.m. belongs entirely to you, and nobody can revoke it. This is the thing you wanted. This is specifically, precisely, exactly the thing. For the first 3 months, you do everything you told yourself you'd do when you had time. You read, you travel, Lisbon, Kyoto, 3 weeks in Mexico City. You sleep past 7. You have long dinners with people you actually like. You take a week in Portugal and sit at a table above the ocean with a glass of wine, and you are objectively, measurably, by every external metric, living the version of life you drew in your head at 17. You're also slightly bored, and you feel guilty about the boredom because you know what the alternative felt like, and the alternative was harder, and you should be grateful, and you are grateful, and you're also slightly bored, and the two things exist in the same body at the same time in a way that is deeply uncomfortable to admit to anyone who is not standing on this particular side of the door. Here is the thing about the dream. The dream is always moving. When you had $340, the dream was $100,000. When you had $100,000, the dream was $1 million. When you had $1 million, the dream was the exit. Now you have the exit, and the dream has not delivered new coordinates. You are 25 with no next. And no next is the strangest place you have ever stood. Your friends from before, the real ones, the $800 a month years ones, are still building. Some are ahead of where you were at their stage. None of them are here. The dinners with them are warm, genuine, but there's a new distance that nobody built on purpose and nobody knows how to close. They pick restaurants that are fine because they don't want you to feel like they expect you to pay. You want to pay. They don't want you to offer. You offer. Someone makes a joke. Everyone laughs. The laugh has a particular texture that everyone hears and nobody names. You drive home alone. You sit in the car outside your building for a few minutes. You are not sad. You are something more specific than sad, and there isn't a clean word for it yet. Part 7. What nobody puts in the speech. Here is the part that lives between every success story, every Forbes profile, every keynote at a conference where successful people explain what made them successful. The part that gets edited out because it doesn't photograph well and it doesn't fit the arc, and honestly most people who've been through it don't fully understand it yet when they're asked to speak about it. Having everything at 25 means the question arrives early. Not what now. Everyone asks that. The question is quieter and goes deeper and is more uncomfortable because there is no mentor who can answer it and no book that maps it and no round of funding that delays it. The question is, who are you when you are no longer becoming? Because for as long as you can remember, you were in motion. The motion was the identity. The hunger was the self. Every room you entered, you were the person with the plan, the one who was going to change the math. The kid from the family with $340 in the account who was quietly, privately, relentlessly rearranging things. You rearrange things. Now you're just a person, standing in an $18,000 kitchen with perfect coffee in no particular direction and a net worth that has already outlived every problem it was built to solve. And being just a person, without the hunger organizing you, without the next thing pulling you toward it, without the proof still to be made, is the most disorienting experience of your entire life. Stranger than your first pitch. Stranger than the wire clearing. Stranger than watching your father touch the doorframe of a bedroom in a house that used to be a number in a goal on a spreadsheet. You thought wealth was a destination. You were wrong. Wealth is a condition, and conditions don't complete you. They reveal you. Strip away the motion. Strip away the striving. Strip away the story of becoming. And what's left is what was always there. Just you, with nothing left to prove it to. Part 8, the return. You fly home in October. Your father is in the garden. He is not wearing the back brace, which means his back is better, which means no more double shifts, which means the reason you started all of this has been resolved in the most literal possible way. He asks about the new project. You explain it. He listens the way he always listened, not following all of it, but tracking the one thing that matters, which is whether you are okay. You are okay. You're also still learning what okay means at this altitude. He pours 2 cups of coffee and you sit at the table. The new table in the house where there are no envelopes sorted by urgency on Friday nights. And he doesn't say anything for a while. Then he says, you know what I'm actually proud of? You wait. He says, you still don't look satisfied. He says it like it's a compliment. It lands like one, and it also lands like the other thing. The confirmation. The wound is the engine. The engine is the wound. The thing that drove you to the exit is the same thing that makes the exit feel like a rest stop. You smile. You don't explain it. He wouldn't want you to. He already knows. Somewhere right now, there is a version of you at 17. $340 in a family account. Payday 4 days away. Lying on a bed, deciding quietly, without ceremony, without anyone watching, to change the math. He thinks that once he changes the math, the rest will resolve. He doesn't know yet that the math was never the problem. The math was the first door. There are more doors after it. They don't get easier. They get quieter, more internal, more yours. And the question behind each one is the same question, and it has nothing to do with the number. He will figure that out. The morning you figure it out, you were standing in a kitchen with perfect coffee and no meeting until 11. And something was slightly wrong. And now you know what it was. It was just you, alone with yourself, for the first time in your life, with nowhere left to be. That's what everything feels like.